Hello and welcome to Season Z, Episode 4 of Zebra Reads. Today we are going to be talking about this book, The Storied Life of A.J. Fikry by Gabrielle Zevin. So this is the fourth book that I read in Zebra Reads. I looked up Zevin, and there's not a lot out there about her. She's pretty well received as far as I can tell. She's won some awards. She's written several books. She's published some screenplays. She's pretty young. Well, I'm going to say she's young because she was born the same year I was born in 1977. So she's done actually quite a bit more than I've done in those 45 short years. So she seems to be well received, well liked, and very productive in her writing. She is from the U.S., so she's a contemporary U.S. author. She was born in New York. She grew up in Florida. Her dad is Jewish, from Eastern Europe, so Polish Russian. Her mom is from Korea, so she's got a very interesting cultural background. I didn't really see that terribly much come out in this book, but I imagine that she's got some interesting life stories. She went to Harvard, and you can tell she's extremely smart. She currently lives in California. They did recently make The Storied Life of A.J. Fikry into a movie. I have not seen it. I did not watch it before doing this, but she wrote the screenplay for it. And her latest book is called Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow, and it's won the Book of the Month Club's 2022 Book of the Year. And then on top of that, so screenplays, novels, which are winning awards, and then she also writes some young adult novels as well, which I would love to read those too. So she seems like a pretty talented person all around, and I'd like to pick up a couple more of her books when I get a chance to do that. So the book itself, what is this book about? I think it's about life. It's just really a book about life. It's about life not being fair. It's about life being way too fair. It's about the perfect and the imperfect. It's about love and hurt and hate and truth and lies and wonder and the mundane. And it's all in there. It's told through snippets of the life of a bookstore owner who is A.J. Fikry. He lives on a small island in the Northeast. It starts with him losing the most important things in his life, and then he's given or realizes that he's being given something much more precious than that. I don't want to give any spoilers away. And since it is a small coastal island, everything and everybody is connected together in ways that you don't necessarily expect, and in ways that Fikry in the story doesn't even realize. So it is really a book about humans humaning, just humans trying to do human things. And a colleague of mine, a wonderful woman from a public health class I'm taking, expressed it that way once. It's just humans trying to human, and we're all just humans trying to human. So that's sort of really what this book is. The last book, my take on it, the last book I reviewed was The Orphan Master by Jean Zimmerman, and that I said was a book I totally would have picked up and wanted to read on my own. And I enjoyed it But this is a book that I never would have bought. I never would have picked this up. The cover isn't me. The back story isn't me. Zevin was just the next author in line, so that's what I got. But I loved it. I thought it was my favorite of the 4 books I've read so far. It was straightforward. It was meaningful. I don't feel like it left anything out, but it wasn't long or difficult to read. And what it portrayed really well, I think, is Zevin's grasp of literature. So she is passionate about literature. And I love it when an author can put something they're passionate about and integrate it into a story, and not have it seem pretentious or not have it seem like it's just like a separate plot line that doesn't really fit. And if you've not read a book like this, you could pick up the book The Meaning of Night by Michael Cox. And Michael Cox is, he was a good writer, and the story itself was really good, but Michael Cox clearly is passionate about books and rare books. And that is in the story, The Meaning of Night. It covers the story, but it's not integrated. So it just comes across as if he's got this story and then it's an excuse for him to tell us about how much he knows about books. But Zevin's book doesn't do that at all. It's a relatable story. It's told in a relatable way. Nothing was neat or tidy about it. And, there was some sadness and hurt through it. So it wasn't like a happy story necessarily. But it felt real and it felt true, and it felt relatable. So who should read it? Everyone, anyone, mostly. If you do like literature, if you're well versed in literature, the Fikry in the story has some takes on his preferences and reading, and so you may enjoy that. It's a quick read. It's not very tedious, and I think it's worth the try, even if you don't like it as much as I did or anyone else. There's a lot of different characters in it with a lot of different personalities. And so I feel like somewhere in there, most people would find someone that they could like and identify with. Sort of my take on it. Who should not read it? No one, mostly. There are some mature themes. They talk about sex, infidelity. Anybody who would be at the stage of being able to read this book would have seen those things probably before. Younger readers may not find it as meaningful because, I think they still have this ideal idea of what their life can be or will be. And may have a little less nuanced idea of good and bad, and the good and bad in the storied life of A.J. Fikry is nuanced. So you have to be careful on how you judge people through the book. The only thing that I can think of, and if somebody's read it and has other thoughts on this too, feel free to comment, but the only thing I can think of in here is that I feel like she does play up the stereotypical faults of men more than women. So, there are male characters that are redeeming in here, so it's not as if all the males are, bad people. But it does seem like men maybe might read it and feel like they're kind of being attacked in certain areas. It's not super prevalent though. If you've recently lost a loved one, either especially a child or a spouse, I mean, even not recently, if you have, it might be difficult to read, but it might also be powerful to read. So that one's one that you might need to choose for yourself if a story that could give you a sense of perspective might be good for you, or it might just bog you down more. So those are the only things I can think of that were really perhaps limiting in who might want to read it. Again, I never would have picked it up, but I really, really enjoyed it. It's a really good book, bottom line. It's just a really good book that tells the story of modern life. It's set in today's world in all its honesty. And it's the thing that I think I liked about it was that it sort of makes you better appreciate all of those people who wander into and out of your life without you really noticing at the time, but what a significant role some people do end up playing in the end. So that's all for this week. This is the storied life of A.J. Fikry. I will link again in the about. I will link my some places where you can pick it up if you want to get it. Again, always check your local library or get it in an ebook instead of a hard copy to save some trees. I'm a hard copy person. I like my books in hard copy. But we will return next week. We have a couple of more Z to get through, and then so we'll return next week with the next one. Thank you so much for watching.